What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Chris, and Shad. What's going on, fellas?
What's good? What's good?
What's up? What's up?
Man, it's what a week it's been on the NBA side as well as the NFL side. NFL side, obviously, free agency has officially started as of about a couple hours ago, but on Monday earlier this week, the legal tampering period started, so we did start to see a lot of movement in terms of trades. People agreeing to deals. Obviously, they couldn't officially sign until today, so we'll start to see those kind of trickle in the official signings today and throughout the rest of the week. And there's a lot to get into because there was a lot of trades, obviously a lot of player movement. But, I think we would be remiss if we didn't address the elephant in the room. And one of the biggest stories that's probably happened is just really in the NBA, considering the parties involved. But a couple days ago, we and man, LeBron pulled up on Stephen A. Smith. Obviously, Stephen A. Smith from ESPN and really everywhere he is. Everybody knows who LeBron is. A couple months ago, or about a month ago, give or take about a month ago, Stephen A. had made some comments on ESPN's First Take, basically pleading with LeBron to stop, I guess, whatever charade or whatever they want to call it that he has going on with Bronny James. LeBron in the middle of a basketball game against the New York Knicks, which we got to mention that Stephen A's favorite team, in the middle of a game in the third quarter. When people say it's on site, that was as on site as you could possibly get. So, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of feedback and stuff like that over the past couple weeks or over the past couple days. Obviously, mostly all from one side. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on, the entire situation and kind of go from there.
Oh man. It's one of the most interesting situations. Just stemming from the fact that, obviously it happened during the game. We found out it happened during the game, but obviously, none of us seen it or whatnot until after the fact. And so, it blows up around the internet. Obviously, everybody sees it and whatnot. And so, according to Stephen A., he had the owners of the ESPN or whatever said, you got to address it. So you addressed it or whatever, cool. But the biggest issue, obviously, is the retort from it. You go onto somebody else's podcast and now you speak your mind on what the situation happened, and it just I ain't want to disrespect the man like that, but it's just pussy to me. I'm not even gonna hold you, because like you go from allowing for that image to happen to get on TV to say, I understand coming from LeBron that how he felt and I totally get it, blah blah blah. Then you go to a podcast to say he weak for it, like, and you felt so disrespected, like he like almost trying to threaten him through another podcast saying, I wish you would do that shit again. Like, you know who I am type shit. And it's like, bro, like what are you talking about? It just make you look bad.
It does make him look bad. At the same time, like, this is getting Stephen A. so much publicity that he don't even care about that, which is probably why he went on that podcast and said what he said, just to dry the shit up, because apparently his little spot on his podcast didn't do enough numbers, so he wanted to get some more word out there. Honestly, that's what it was. So
I don't know about you guys, but I did not watch the Stephen A. and Skip reunion.
I did not.
I tried to tune in, and it was on YouTube. I like maybe saw like a couple minutes, and then I just I got busy doing something else. But I don't know if it was addressed on that as well, which wouldn't be a far-fetched thing to pick up on.
I think it was recorded before.
Yeah.
I think it was recorded before.
Okay. Because on the podcast at the beginning, they mentioned about his contract, by him getting a new contract, and then he also said that happened the same day. So I don't think he had a chance to address it then.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the whole situation. I mean, shout out to Bron for pressing him. I mean, I wonder if it's gonna start a precedent in a way. I mean, of course, everybody just can't do it because I mean, then it'll get a little crazy. But Bron doing it to Stephen A. And I mean, a lot of people do be talking crazy on on the ESPN shows, on the Fox shows. Blah, blah. I mean, but Stephen A. did take it a little bit too far. Like, but that's he always does this shit though. And this what's Bron saying? It's about damn time. It's about damn time somebody said something to him about it. So shout out to LeBron for that.
Man, and to be honest, I really just think the whole thing is nasty because, first of all, everything, and we've talked about it a little bit, but basically everything about Bronny has been so like disgustingly, what's the word I want to use? Portrayed to the world, basically. Like everything has been, it's all about LeBron or Bronny's not good enough, blah, 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 blah. Like it's really been a lot of hate. But there was a lot of things that I thought were kind of important, and it kind of paints a picture. So, and I'm pulling this from like a lot of different podcasts because I've listened to a lot about it. So, the first thing, one of the most interesting things that I find is we all know LeBron and Steve, or it's really the Stephen A side of things. We all know that they didn't get along because Stephen A mentions it damn near every episode of First Take. Damn near anytime he talks about LeBron James, he always mentions that they don't get along, or like him and Rich Paul are boys, but him and LeBron aren't on the best of terms. Another thing that he always mentions, he always says, I've got LeBron number two. And he always does it. He always puts up the two fingers. I'm not saying, whether you feel LeBron is the GOAT, whatever, that is neither here nor there. To me, when you're doing that every single time that you're talking about him, why couldn't you just say, I think he's one of the best ever, like you say about everybody else? It seems like you're like trying to take like pointed shots. And, if anybody has ever listened to Stephen A., you can tell that he takes a lot of shots at LeBron. I mean, he's blamed LeBron for the dunk contest being the way it is. He's blamed LeBron for the league basically being the way it is.
The player movement, yeah.
The player movement. This was something that, I don't even know if you guys might have known this. He did a podcast on It Is What It Is. I'm pretty sure It Is What It Is with Cam and Mace and Stat Baby. And one of the things he blamed LeBron for was LeBron didn't align himself with a black journalist to bring them up in the ranks like Michael Jordan did with Ahmad Rashad.
I heard that. I did hear that.
So that was another thing that he blamed LeBron on. And given the timelines of, where Stephen A was in his career at that point in time, he also brought up Brian Windhorst, who was somebody that kind of, was known as the LeBron guy. And, that's neither here nor there, but he brought Wendy on First Take. It's a little, sometimes I honestly think some of that shit is a little shade, like to keep you, speaking of Cam and Mace, one of the things Mace said about, his history with P. Diddy, somebody, that weird ass nigga, his history with P. Diddy, he was like, even though I was very successful and one of the best, hip hop artists, it had one of the best starts as a hip hop artist ever. It always felt like P. Diddy was trying to keep me here while he was becoming a billionaire. And same thing, kind of how I feel about Stephen A. And I'm not trying to take shots at Stephen A. because I fuck with Stephen A. I mean, he obviously is a hard worker, does a great job. He's entertaining. But, sometimes it does seem like he tries to like get guys on First Take to kind of keep them here while he like elevates himself. But I think the nastiest...
On that point, real quick, because it's something he does all the time, which I hate. I hate it every time I hear it. He always got to judge somebody's appearance and judge somebody's tie, judge somebody's suit, saying that he's better, like his is better. Like that's the type of shit. Like people don't talk about that a lot, but he does it every single episode. Whether it's Ryan Clark, whether it's Perk, it don't matter who it is, really. Even Mad Dog, it's like he trying to like son him in a way.
or I don't. This is something that it always rubs me the wrong way, even though it's not. I'm not going to categorize it as he's trying to do it in bad intentions. Every single time he mentions Shannon Sharp breaking that record, YouTube record or whatever with the Cat Williams thing. If you guys remember, shortly after it happened, he mentioned it, like you said, every single show, like almost like it was like, you, I see what you're doing over there, like, that the big man shit, like it was almost like a bag, like he's trying to be like give him props, but also like nah, nigga,
hey,
this
calm
is
that
me,
down a little bit.
you on my show,
Facts.
But the thing, it's just so nasty how everything has been categorized because the thing that's frustrating is nobody is actually like painting the picture the correct way. Stephen A keeps saying that, outside of the altercation, obviously he's trying to now backtrack and say now he's pissed off and offended by it because LeBron was doing it about LeBron and it wasn't about Bronny. Whatever. Who cares what if it was about Bronny or if it was about LeBron, because you talk shit about both of them. Like, who cares? The thing on that podcast with Gil's Arena, he says, I look over and Bronny looks at me and he's sad.
Yeah.
That shit was so disrespectful, bro.
Okay, bro.
I'm
like,
sorry,
what are we doing? What are we really doing here?
So now you're making it worse.
Another thing he said on there was, and this was like a very important, this is why, some people have said this about Shannon, and, some people, people that watch this show, they probably even say the same thing about us if we were to have guests on. But nobody on there was like, nah, like, or like said something or like checked to be like, bruh, like, you're going a little too far there. He also said, LeBron had that moment. He also tried to paint the picture that LeBron knew that Stephen A signed his contract. LeBron knew that Stephen A was going to be there. He saw it. He knew the cameras were rolling. It was basically a show for LeBron for the cameras to be on him. And, your $100 million, like, which it's big money to me, great money to me, is pennies to LeBron James, who's a billionaire. Like, why, they've got a game that day. Why would he even be, maybe he does know that you do it, but like for you to even, your mind to even go there, that's so like egotistical. But he said, LeBron might have won that moment. I'm on the airways 5 days a week and I've got my podcast.
He legit like I'm doing
it. So my thing about it was, does that not sound like now I can go and slander you and say whatever? That's how I took it.
No, for sure.
So now we're and we've talked about it, we're at an inflection point between NBA and the media. And this is like, this is why I feel like we should, like, this was something important to talk about, because that is like what, like, it's gotten to a point where it's gotten so disrespectful, and some of these people our media folks are becoming so egotistical because they are making so much money for some of the same things that they complain about the athletes. Oh, NFL, NBA players, they make so much money that they don't care about the game. It's this. Can we not say it's the same thing about the media at this point? They're making so much money that they feel like they can say whatever, however. It's no actual respect there. And, for you to sit there, like, that's that messaging where I'm on the airwaves for 5 days and I have my podcast, that to me screamed like, I can set your narrative, LeBron.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I can set your narrative, which is what he's basically done his whole career, So that, to me, I felt that was so nasty.
That's why and look, I make fun of that joke. I make fun of that quote that he always says, but he dead ass says, you don't want to make an enemy out of me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, he dead ass said that. I forgot who he was talking about, but
KD.
He said it multiple times, probably.
He said it about KD. He said it about Kevin Durant because he said, which he was right about, he came out and said that Kevin Durant was 100% not going to re-sign with the Thunder, and he was going to sign with the Warriors. And that was in like December of the year or something like that. And KD tried to say he doesn't talk to anybody that Stephen A doesn't talk to nobody.
But he's setting that precedent where, okay, if you don't cower to the media, that we're going to just slander you. Pretty much, we're going to just drive your reputation into the ground, and that's kind of what he's trying to do. I mean, it is nasty. It is nasty.
And it's just so disingenuous because he keeps saying, and this is another reason why it's like I said, the point that I made about the podcasters like us, if we were to have a guest, he keeps saying, and a lot of people keep saying this, Bronny. So another thing I want to get into, because now I'm really upset now that I'm talking it out. So first of all, everybody keeps saying it was some big charade. LeBron cooked the books basically to get Bronny to where he is. Let's say that is the case. First of all, like we've mentioned on this podcast plenty of times before, LeBron was a projected lottery pick. Now, obviously, this was something that was way, way pre, and we see it all the time. Like a mock draft might come out in October, come May, half those names aren't on there anymore. That's perfectly fine. LeBron James Jr. was a projected lottery pick before he freaking died, basically, and came back to life. He had a rough season. So we hear all the time, especially at the bottom of the draft. Obviously, the NBA only has two rounds. NFL has 7. There's different rounds for, different sports. We hear all the time in the NFL, hey, round 5, 6, 7, agents are sitting there like, no, don't pick my guy so he can go undrafted and pick his team, right? Why couldn't that have been what Rich Paul did? Hey, I see Warriors might want me, but Bronny, the Warriors aren't doing too hot, number one. Number two, well, at that point in time, Warriors aren't looking too hot, number one. Number two, Steph is going to gain most of the minutes. How much minutes are you really going to get? And then when Steph leaves, what does your future look like? Okay, maybe that's not your best spot. The Celtics were another team that was supposedly interested in him. The Celtics are 9 deep set. So you only have however many spots now. Do you really have a place to progress? Whatnot. Let's say he goes to some bum or the Pistons, who were deemed a bum franchise pre how things have gone this season. Would anybody have been comfortable saying that Bronny would have developed with the Pistons? Probably not. The Lakers, on the other hand, for all the things that we do say about the Lakers, it is an organization that has obviously his father. His father can help with his development. It's a team that had Anthony Davis that they expected to be there at that point in time. Obviously, things have changed. So it was also a team that was struggling in the guard position, especially for perimeter defense at the guard position at the time. Obviously, they had D'Angelo Russell. I mean, Chris talks about putting Austin Reeves into action every other day. I mean, we know. So, and then on top of that, has there been any other team that has developed, outside of maybe the Raptors, that have developed second rounders, undrafted players the way that the Lakers have? Why is that not a talking point? Austin Reeves was undrafted. Alex Caruso was undrafted. Kyle Kuzma was he was a first round pick, but he was a late first round pick, which we typically don't necessarily see those late first round picks do something. Mo Wagner, that's somebody that's been obviously he's hurt now. He was a late first round pick that developed. Zubac was a second round pick. Max Christie was a second round pick. I said Alex Caruso. Josh Hart was an end of the first round pick. Thomas Bryant was a second round pick. THT, how do you feel about him? Was a second round pick. These are all players that were drafted low or undrafted that they developed. So, I don't understand that are actual players in this league outside of maybe THT. And he's on the Bulls. Shout out to Chicago. I'm here. So, so why is that not brought up?
I mean, why why though?
All that stuff pisses me off. And it's just and then the other mischaracterization is I wanted Bronny to go to the G League. Yet nobody mentions the Lakers were coming. This is another thing. The Lakers were on a back-to-back. They were on the last night of a back-to-back. They were playing their third game in 4 nights. They AD got hurt in the first quarter of that game. And he only played 10 minutes. They had just recently did the trade with D'Angelo Russell, so they were short on players as well. They also don't mention that Bronny wasn't the only G Leaguer to play in that game.
Early in that game, yeah.
Play early in that game for the Lakers. They also didn't mention that not only is Bronny the G Leaguer that has played with the Lakers, Jemison is a G leaguer that's getting a lot of minutes with the Lakers. What's his name? Jordan Goodwin was a G leaguer that's getting a lot of minutes with the Lakers as well. They also didn't mention Bronny was coming off of a 31-point game 3 days prior in the G League. He's averaging 21, 5 and 5 in the G League.
What is the G League there for if you can't look at it and be like, damn, he dropping these guys off. Let's give him some time in the NBA. Let's give him some time on the real court.
Like,
I mean,
if
he
you
didn't. He didn't play well. I get that, but it was still worth a shot, especially in that situation where you're missing a lot of people.
I'm just saying, it's just so nasty. Like, nobody has brought that up, not once in any of those conversations. Not on ESPN, First Take, not in Gil's Arena, not in any of these other things. Has Stephen A. been like, or anybody, not just Stephen A. It's all, and I'm pointing the finger at all the media, really.
Yeah.
Not a single person has been like, well, Bronny's actually averaging 21 points in the G League. What do we have to say about that? Not a single person has said that. Not a single person has said that one time. Aside from maybe like the first things first guys who, Nick has a relationship with LeBron.
Yeah. It's not a good look for the future of sports media television if this continues where you come out and you're still talking about a week later. So now if Bron were to say something else to Stephen A, it's gonna be on Bron. He gonna paint LeBron as the bad guy, even though you just brought his son's name up again in a podcast. So it's like, all right, bro. Now you playing around. Now you really showing that you really don't care. So all right.
It's just so nasty, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, it's LeBron's name, so he's helping us. How many times do we see a guy that has XYZ Jr. and we like, oh, he's coming up? Let's check. And this is in all sports.
Yeah.
Every single time. J.C. Horn, Asante Samuel, whomever else you want. If there's some Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan's sons were coming out, there was people that thought, hey, maybe he could, I don't know. It's just all done. People were, actually, I'm gonna just leave that one off.
All right.
I was gonna say people were saying that Gigi Bryant might have made the WNBA, but given the situation, people tend to be a little bit more like exaggeratory when tragedies involved. So
right.
But still, that is something like people were going to be looking for that when she got of age. Even his little daughters now, even though he's not necessarily there to coach them, they're going to be the NBA family hands. They're going to be looking at them like, okay, let's see if you can,
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen's son as well was somebody that people had eyes on. He might not have gotten the same publicity because at the same time he was retired and LeBron is currently in the league. But I don't know many juniors that people are like, oh shit,
yeah, check them out. I mean, they're talking about it now. They're talking about what Gilbert Arenas' sons, both of them, right now. They're right now at this moment. They're ready. They're gearing up for those two. They're like, come on now.
He said Kenyon Martin didn't pull any strings to get his son in the league.
But yet he was at the facility right after his son was drafted every day that summer. All right.
D Wade didn't pull any strings for his son, but as soon as he owned the Jazz, guess whose son was on the Jazz's G League team? Melo's not pulling any strings for his son.
But he made a whole video. Melo made a whole video passing the torch.
We just do not have to demonize everything that LeBron James does. Every single thing is just so God. But Stephen A, man, you gotta lock in because y'all saying it's good publicity. I have not seen a single person outside of even Nick Young was like, and Nick Young, all them dudes was up there trying to make jokes. They clearly didn't agree with him, but they all try to play talk around and make jokes. They didn't want to call him out, and it's like, bruh, or they try to what's the word I'm trying to find? relate to him. Oh yeah, if he does, like, bro, shut up, bro. Like y'all know that shit whack. Like, come on, dog. Like, this shit is. We need a cleanse. I told y'all we need a cleanse. Everybody, the sports media needs a cleanse, reset of everything, like everything, how they talk, the language. I mean, switching to the NFL side now, even the cleanse of the NFL and the free agency. How is Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport tweeting the same exact thing word for word, and they work for two completely different companies? They're competing. Why are we even giving? I mean, they do deserve their props, but why the hell are we even giving props to agents? Like, why are we saying negotiated by X, Y, Z? Like, you know. But
gotta keep your
that being
sources.
said, we got a lot of movement in the NFL. It's really kind of hard to pinpoint a place to start.
Yeah.
But some of the larger moves, just to get into first, DK Metcalf officially being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Seattle Seahawks kind of changing the course of what they've done the past couple of years. Following that, Geno Smith was also traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So those were two of the bigger moves that kind of happened over the weekend. And that kind of opened the floodgates from there. That was the DK was probably the first shocker for everybody, because we always have a random trade.
Like the night
Laramie
before,
Tunsil,
free agency, something always happens. Yeah,
something always happens,
facts.
or like it's a random person that all of a sudden is on the chopping block, or Debo obviously got traded, and that was something that we mentioned before, but it didn't open the floodgates like this. So I don't know where you guys want to start. Who are some teams or players that you guys looked at and were like, this is a great move for them, whether it's the player, whether it's the team, or some teams that you came away with like, I really like what they're doing?
For me, I say Chicago. I start there. They made some moves. Try to upgrade their offensive lineman. Give Caleb some comfortable. Let him be comfortable back there. I mean, this year we seen a lot of him. Rolling out early, maybe not trusting his protection, trying to get out there, trying to make Superman plays when he doesn't have to. He was a rookie last year, so. I mean, I like how they try to bolster that up a little bit, and their defensive line. I mean, they already had a stout defense, so I like the moves that they did for their defense, and I think they're gonna be a little better this year than they were last year. So I'm interested to see how they roll. But I say Chicago did pretty well in free agency.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, well, of course, in this usual, like, people be making jokes about it, how Chicago is always, the offseason champion. So, I mean, we'll see how it is when the season starts. But it definitely does look good on paper. I'm gonna talk about Denver, the Denver Broncos. I think they made some great moves, honestly. They got your boy Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers, Chris.
Yes, sir.
They didn't stop there, though. They also got Drake Greenlaw, who, you're expecting a little bit more out of now that he's more than a season removed from his Achilles injury. I mean, he came back at the end of last season, but it wasn't really, he was filling it in pretty much. And they didn't need him because they were trashed at the end of that season. But they also we saw today that Evan Ingram signed with them. And that's getting a young quarterback, a tight end. Now, I know Evan Ingram is, he's older, he's 30, and he hasn't had the greatest career, but he's still a safety net. Still one of the most athletic tight ends that you have in the league. So I think that's a great pickup as well. That DJ Jones, they were able to re-sign him on that defensive front. So it's like you did lose. God, I forgot their middle linebacker name. Was it Cody Barton? Yeah. You did lose him, but you bring in Dre. So it's like you kept your defense intact to be able to go into the draft and really get those pieces around your offense that, that will help it move along, help your young quarterback move along. So I like what the Denver Broncos has done so far in free agency, for sure, especially like, a year removed from being quote unquote in that cap hell from that big dead money hit that happened. So they're still finding a way.
Yeah, I actually, I've got a lot of teams that I'm like, that I thought, were, I don't want to say big winners and losers, because obviously there's not really anybody that's winning right now, and there's not really. I mean, you're in free agency for a reason. I was having a conversation with one of my friends because he's a Cowboys fan, so he was making a lot of comments about how the Cowboys didn't dabble in free agency last year, and I'm like, well, actually, I will say this right now. I'm going to pull it up because it's probably something interesting that you guys might not have even realized either.
The fact that they didn't pay more than $6 million to a free agent since like 2015.
No, not even that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I just had it up. I gotta pull it back up now. So this is the top 100 free agents from last year, and I'm like, it does make sense to want free agents, but you also have to be cautious. Number one, Kirk Cousins. Where's Kirk Cousins at right now? Number two, Christian Wilkins. He had a season-ending injury for the Raiders. Obviously, they didn't have that great of a season. Daniil Hunter was number three. He obviously had a pretty good season.
Yeah.
But he's only on, like a 2-year deal, so this is really his last year. Tyron Smith was number 4. Free agent now. Saquon Barkley, don't need to say too much. Jonathan Grenard had a great season, but he was kind of an unknown. He's at number 6. Calvin Ridley's number 7. Mike Aminu, he's an O-lineman for the Patriots. I'm not going to sit here and say that he was great or not, but we did see how the Patriots offensive line played. So Leonard Williams was solid with the Seahawks. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's at 10. He got traded immediately the following year. 11, Bryce Huff. 12, Mike Williams. Cut, traded. 13, Kendall Fuller. Cut. 14, Xavier McKinney had a great season. 15, Hollywood Brown, bad season. Stephon Gilmore was 16. He had a solid season. Frankie Louvu was 17. Solid season. Robert Hunt, O-lineman for the Panthers. Once again, I'm not an O-lineman expert, so I'm not going to sit here and say he was great or not. Patrick Queen, solid at 19. Lloyd Cushenberry, number 20, tears his Achilles. So 21 is Jacoby Brissett, free agent. So, when we talk about winners and losers,
yeah, and you kind of saw that too. Like most of the big names, quote unquote, bigger names in this cycle, they all got re-signed. Most of them got re-signed to their teams pretty quickly before even Monday or even like the beginning of Monday. So, I mean, that's a sign too. Like if you're that good, their teams are going to keep you. So,
And arguably the best free agent signing last year was Zach Bond, was an unknown 1-year contract that becomes an all-pro, and now he looks to be the mainstay at that position for the Eagles moving forward. But Chris probably scoffed at it last year when he's like, Zach Bond, like,
look,
cool,
man, if you ask anybody with the Eagles last year, your starting linebacker you wanted to be N'Kobe and Devin White. It was supposed to be Devin White and N'Kobe. That was supposed to be in the projection. Them two.
So, but with all that being said, there's some teams that I have in that I'm like, winner or loser, like vote right in the middle. Okay. Texans are one of them. I think the Texans, you have to call. I don't want to say, once again, I hate doing the winner loser, but that's just an easy thing to kind of pigeonhole people into. But one hand, you give up your best offensive lineman, and now it's come out that he might have been a locker room cancer. There have been some pretty disturbing videos of his false starts and some of his offensive penalties, which that was something that a lot of people knew. Excuse me, he is up there in age, but given the fact that your offensive line struggled so bad last year, you would think that that's probably not the move they would make. They also traded a former first rounder, which they say when they say former first rounder, they're turbo dog shit. So tap in, Chris. They traded a former first round offensive lineman to the Eagles for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which is why I also have them on the winner's side, because for all of the issues that they're probably going to have offensively and that they're probably hoping that C.J. Stroud can alleviate, that defense is, if the D-line is still as stout as it was last year, that defensive backfield is nasty. Petrie, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Bullock was straight, the rookie that they had last year. Lassiter from Georgia that they got last year, another rookie. I think I mentioned Stingley. If not, mention him again because he deserves to be mentioned multiple times. That defense, back end, and front line could be very nasty.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the offense, I'm not sure. Another team that I would have in that same like middle winner loser would be the team that traded for Laramie Tunsil. And initially which was the Washington Commanders. Initially I was like, it's a great trade for them. The moment that all this stuff about him starts coming out, I'm immediately like, probably not the best trade to do for a guy that's, when you're trying to establish a culture based on the history of what Washington has been. And then you bring in him, Chris mentioned last week that Debo has been disgruntled. You bring in Debo as well. People have said he's fat and this, that, and the third. That's neither here nor there. They picked up Jonathan Jones today as well. He's more of a slot. Sandstros, to me, I'm like, I don't really know how I feel about that. And then Javon Kinlaw,
they gave him
good player.
They gave him a lot of money, though. They gave him a lot of money, though.
And I'm not saying that and I'm not even going to sit here and be like he's not worth the money or whatever. But to release Jonathan Allen and then Jonathan Allen only making $2 million more per average per year, not to say that the contract structure was the same. That to me was like, Jonathan Allen was a Pro Bowl, a really good established player. Like Javon Kinlaw is trying to get to that point, but he obviously had some struggles with the 49ers before he went to New York. Wasn't a huge fan of it. And then one last team, I don't even know if I want to put the team itself, but you kind of have to. But Daniel Jones and the Colts. I think that is the Colts have to be in the middle because of the situation with Anthony Richardson or whatever. But number one,
let's talk about it.
Daniel Jones, number one, Daniel Jones, he kind of really tried Anthony Richardson because I'm not going to say he tried Anthony Richardson. A part of me feels like Daniel Jones, we kept seeing that the Colts were, there was a lot of media stuff about it. I don't think that Daniel Jones really had a market with Minnesota. And I think that the Colts might have got fleeced. I think that they were trying to drive up the price a little bit. And it's not a terrible contract. So, fleeced, however you want to take that word as strong as it can be. But, the Vikings immediately started signing a bunch of folks to big contracts, both day one and day two, which day two was when Daniel Jones signed with Indianapolis. They were like the first team to start breaking stuff. To start opening stuff up on day two with Will Fries. Obviously they got Murphy. I think Murphy was a second day guy as well. Jonathan Allen was a second day guy. The Hargrave news about them adding Javon Hargrave came out that day, but they didn't get official to today. So to me, just reading the tea leaves, it seems like you dished out a bunch of contracts for a guy that just signed what he did with the Colts. Doesn't seem too likely that you were probably going back there. And the reason that I have him, and I don't want to say necessarily the Colts were going to make a move regardless. Regardless of how you feel about Anthony Richardson, the messaging that's come out about J.J. McCarthy in the past couple of days, it may not be something, but it's not nothing as of right now. And for it to be not nothing, and that was like kind of what you went with, Daniel Jones, I'm not sure. And Shane Steichen's not necessarily a fit for you. Shane Steichen likes that tag deep where you're very much a dink and dunk guy. It just doesn't, With that being said, the Ballard has had interest in Daniel Jones for years. I was telling Chris this the other day, I want to say the original plan was to have Daniel Jones as the bridge quarterback for Anthony before they drafted him. But that's also when Daniel Jones got that contract. So that's just me reading between the lines as well. But the Colts would also be in that, or Daniel Jones, however you want to put it, would be in that weird area.
No, that's fair. And that you saw it come out, kind of the messaging like you were talking about with the Vikings too, because it is it came out that they offered Sam Darnold just a 1-year deal, $25 million. Kind of a deal that they knew he wasn't going to accept. So I mean, that's kind of the part of that messaging too. But yeah, the Colts. I mean, look, y'all. Of course, the two defensive, key pickups that you got in Cam Bynum and Travarius Ward. Love that. But again, like this narrative that started already, and we saw it on Pat McAfee. And it's nasty. Honestly, in a way, it is, because now you are not necessarily saying that Daniel Jones tried Anthony, but the messaging is out there like, okay, yeah, he chose you because he think he can take your job. Simple as that.
He tried him.
Whether
he tried him.
He tried him.
Whether you take that whether you take it as fuel or not, that's the media narrative. And then, I say somebody, I forgot who said it today, like, it's inevitable that both of these players are probably going to end up playing this season at some point. And I can see that. I mean, yeah, it is inevitable. However it happens, through injury, through slumps, whatever.
I mean, if you're projecting it, you would have to project that Anthony Richardson is going to get hurt, just given his history. You would have to project that Anthony Richardson is going to beat him out. You would also have to project that Anthony Richardson is going to get hurt. So,
and that's what's going to cause like more eyes on the situation. Is when you come out at the NFL Combine and say, okay, yeah, we're bringing, we're going to have open competition, and then you bring in a guy like Daniel Jones, it's like it's going to be funny this season. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot of talk around the quarterback position in Indianapolis. They're already calling him Indiana Jones, apparently. He already has a nickname there.
It's going to be a lot of cap, because, I mean, there's clearly, it's also, I mean, this kind of goes back to, in a way, to the Stephen A. thing about, like, I can control the narrative. It has seemed, I mean, you mentioned Pat McAfee. It has seemed like ever since Pat had his little spat with Indy, whatever it is, he has absolutely tried to control the narrative of everything around Indianapolis and the football team. And right now, I mean, they're trying to push out a strong narrative that Anthony Richardson is just like this piece of shit dude.
Yeah.
Like, everything, Pat's trying to push it hard. There's obviously been other people that are like, you're going to parrot Pat because they think Pat is, voice of the Colts. I've seen some, every time he does say something pretty strong, he immediately comes back and tries to walk his comments back. Probably for a reason, because, a lot of it's probably not true. Which some of the stuff that's come out has proven that it's probably not that true. But, there's also obviously a little bit of truth to it. Some people have speculated that it could be a little bit more so on the, because I shared a video with you guys today. Him and Dan, they didn't like bicker or anything, but they clearly had a difference of opinion. Dan Orlovsky was like, nah, I'm not hearing that stuff about Anthony Richardson and his work ethic. And Pat, like, basically trying to be like, you're lying. Like, not basically. He straight up said you're lying. You're making up sources.
Doing all the faces and stuff while Dan was talking, like.
So Dan has a history with Jim Bob Cooter, who's the Colts offensive coordinator. There was even whispers about Dan possibly being the quarterback coach. There's speculation that Pat might be getting some stuff from like some support people that really don't have too much to do with it, whereas Dan is getting this from the OC, which is why if you peep the video, Dan's like, I'll probably get in trouble for this.
Yeah, I said it. Yep.
So, and I believe it too, because he even says some stuff as far as like, him and Kellen Moore, they text back and forth. He knows a lot, most of these offense coordinators, because most of the offense coordinators either was his coordinator or they used to be quarterbacks and he played in league with them. So it's like quarterback got that close knit group. So yeah, I would believe that like he knows who he talking about. Like you said, he said I could get in trouble for this. He's dead serious. Like
yeah. So, and I think I don't know, we're all trying to read tea leaves, but I'm not absolving. I'm not trying to absolve Anthony Richardson here. So I don't want anybody listening to be like, oh, Rashad's that. I'm not trying to absolve Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson is a great player. I've never once said that ever. But, I'm not saying any of that, but there has been a lot of cap and there's a lot of like a narrative pushing, which, it always gets a little nasty when because you have to kind of play it like, because Anthony Richardson is a black quarterback and you have Aaron Rodgers who's up here every day and you never call him out. You're all gung-ho about Daniel Jones. You're all gung-ho about Joe Flacco, but you never call them out about their stuff. Sometimes you gotta. I'm not saying that he is that at all, because I really don't think he is. But sometimes, not just Pat, there's some media people, like they go a little strong on some people, and it's like,
that's the unconscious bias right there.
You good? Like, you straight, bro? Like,
Yeah.
and for Pat said like months ago he wasn't going to talk about the Colts, but somehow he's taking a shot at Anthony Richardson every goddamn day. I don't understand. I don't understand it.
It is wild.
But moving to some other teams, I think the Bills have actually done a pretty great job as well. Bringing back some guys, obviously re-signing Bernard, re-signing Khalil Shakir, Gregory Rousseau. They obviously cut Von Miller and maybe bring him back as well. But bringing in Joey Bosa on, they said that it sounds like they might have overpaid maybe a little bit just to get him to come there as opposed to going to play with his brother, which, you got to close the deal. But getting Forrest, the safety from the Commanders, who was breaking out a couple years and maybe a couple years ago, and maybe the change in, coaching staff kind of pushed him to the back. But I just think that adding that depth and also bringing back, Hamlin to bolster the safety room, I just think they've done a really good job on it as well. So Buffalo is one of those teams, and the Vikings too.
Vikings, Jaguars. Honestly, I think they did two huge ones in my opinion. For that team with Patrick McCarry, bringing him in from Baltimore. Robert Hainsey, we'll see. They gave him a 3-year, so we'll see kind of how that works. But you can tell, like, Jordan Lewis, which is one of my favorite signings this year for them. So I like what the Jaguars have done as well.
My only thing about the Jaguars is it seems like every year they're signing like a corner and a lineman.
Like, and then it don't work out. Yeah.
Like that's Jacksonville was one of the ones that I like wanted to kind of highlight, but it's like, because it not only the signings, but the way they've kind of cleaned up some of the past signings, and obviously trading Christian Kirk. That was another thing about the Texans. Getting Christian Kirk, I thought, was a big piece for them as well.
We could talk about the Patriots handing out the check to everybody, but we expected that when you come in with 120. What was it? I forgot how much they had going into the free agency. 124 whatever million.
Still got like 90.
Yeah, still got a lot. But you gave it to Carlton Davis, who he ended up with the contract similar to the other cornerbacks on the market.
They all had the same contract. They all had the same contract, and the agents trying to cap it.
Milton Williams, though, Chris got the bag.
Milkman.
4-year, $104 million with 51 guaranteed at signing, and I didn't think he would get that much. But again, you got to do what you got to do. They kind of swooped in and stole that from the Panthers, because it seems like the Panthers were more in that 20 to 23 million range, and they kind of just took that over. So, hey,
yeah, and I think that was a big hit for the Panthers, because the Panthers have made a lot of moves as well. I don't necessarily know about let's say big time moves, but definitely some moves to kind of shore things up for them. And it's funny because it's also good to kind of hear. They basically said that Bryce Young was their quarterback in the future, so it's good to see them kind of going for it. And really putting the pieces around him, really rebuilding the team the right way. I saw somebody even mention maybe they try to get Stephon Gilmore to come back out there since everybody's doing the homecoming. So I think that would be a good pickup for them. While they solidify, because they've got some guys at that second cornerback position, but if they can get another receiver, they just picked up Rico Dowdle. We'll see if the Panthers can do a little something. But, on the flip side, let's talk about them Eagles.
On the flip side.
The Eagles losing a lot of talent. Hold on 1 second. Is he frozen for you too?
Yeah.
I'm here.
You got to speak up.
He there.
Nah, Nah, speak
What's
up,
up?
man. Addressing all of our teams, you know, the Eagles obviously have lost some talent in terms of losing Josh Sweat, obviously making the move for, like I said, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson earlier, trading Kenny Pickett out of there as well. Looks like Tanner McKee is getting the bump up. But how do you feel about how do you feel about all the losses?
I mean, personally, yeah, it sucks.
Slay too, obviously.
I mean, personally, it clearly sucks because I mean, we lost pretty much our whole defense. Well, big major pieces to our defense. But I mean, honestly, all our money's on offensive side of the ball, and that's how it always been. So it's not really a shock to me. We was already the youngest defense in the league last year, and we only gonna get younger. I mean, I just looked at it. We only have one person, or it's all but one person on our defense who is on a rookie contract, and that's Zach Bond because he just got re-signed. Everybody else is on a rookie contract still. Every single one of them. This, as far as if you were to say projected starters, right? Yeah. So
major contributors.
it's gonna probably be a rough start next year defensively, but I mean it was the same shit that happened this year. So I mean, hey, Vic got that magic, so I'm gonna leave it in his hands.
Yeah, and you saw like throughout the season, like you mentioned last year, and that's what happens with young guys get more and more reps throughout the season. Y'all become more and more formidable over there. So I think you guys will be okay. I don't think you'll be the same kind of defense you had last year. I don't even think it can get to that level, but we'll see. You never really know how people develop. You never really know how good, you know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how people develop. But like with the Falcons,
If we being honest before you go, if we being honest, I mean, them niggas played out their mind last year, honestly. I didn't see that shit coming. They just played out their fucking mind. Did. I don't know if even if they had the same players, I don't think they could replicate what they did at the end of the stretch.
I mean, it was, and I mean, because I mean, like you said, they did play out of their mind. I mean, it's not like they were just. I mean, they played. Y'all didn't play the Bills last year, but I mean, they played the other three top quarterbacks. And you know, the Ravens were really the team that I guess kind of gave them the best game. But even then, it was like, you know, the Bengals they had it at first, and then it just, I mean, when they shut the water off, I mean, it was no drippage, right. Like at all. So like, you know, maybe it is a situation where they can't replicate it, but I like kind of they're probably a team that I would have had in the middle as well, where I'm like, you know, it's in a title defense you can get very comfortable and not look to make some of the daring moves. I mean, I won't necessarily say they're all daring, but maybe not release Slay or maybe not trade Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And you know, maybe put a little bit more effort into. I don't know how much effort was given, but put more effort in trying to bring back Isaiah Rodgers, because I mean that's 4 DBs, you know, including James Bradbury. Obviously, he didn't play too much or play at all really last year, but that's 4 DBs that, you know, were looked to be at least somewhat of contributors. 3 of them became major contributors, and that you just lose, and then obviously Sweat as well. So it's like, it's tough because it's also like, damn, like when you do have a title defense, you want them to be a little bit more aggressive and like not rest on their laurels. So yeah, it'll be something to watch, but it is something a little nervous to try to fully rely on the young guys. But I mean, we're still very early. I mean, it's literally only been like 2 hours officially of like actual free agency. I know everybody gets teased with the legal tampering, but there's so much more of trades. Yep. More releases and cuts are going to come, you know, 3rd, 4th wave of free agency that's going to happen. So obviously we saw Justin Simmons already get on his knees for the Eagles.
Yeah. With my team, the Falcons, of course, we lost Grady Jarrett. Cut him. We didn't lose him. We cut him to save money. You know, Drew Dahlman, the quote-unquote top center on the market, goes to the Bears with Grady Jarrett. The direction there is tough. because you don't really know exactly how everything's going to shake out. There are a lot of starter positions that are like not filled right now throughout the team, including that center position, the safety position, slot corner, edge. So I mean, it's a lot of work to do, and this is an important offseason for Terry Fontenot. He has to get this shit right, or he's out of there. So you would think that he'll be a little bit more aggressive and not kind of punt it to 2026, where you, of course, have the Kirk Cousins contract will be off the books and you have more money overall just to work with, because you might not even be able to use that money. But, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out, man. It seems like they're putting a lot of trust into just Michael Penix and that offense being able to carry this team. So, I mean, we can be hopeful, but that could – it could backfire. We've seen it backfire all the time. So, of course,
that's
the big
why I'm
thing.
shaking my head.
I'm
gonna get into it, but you go ahead.
Of course, the big thing to come out these last couple of days, and including today, is that they seem to be, digging their heels in on keeping Kirk Cousins on the team past this March 17th deadline in a sort of paying him $10 million. So, with that decision, of course, comes more scrutiny towards Terry Fontenot and his decision making. So, I mean, it's just a we'll-see situation for me.
That one was gonna gain criticism regardless, because I mean, he's trying to play chicken, play possum, whatever you want to call it, in a situation where the Falcons are trying to project that they're in a pole position, they're in the high position when they're not. And at this point, like the Kirk Cousins factor, just get it over with. Like, just get it over with. Who cares about the money at this point? As so many people have mentioned, the money is spent. The money is there. Who cares? Like, especially now that the first major wave that you would probably spend some of that money on is mostly gone. Get rid of it. But the reason I shook my head is because it's something I've been saying for the past few months. What did last year's Colts do? They re-signed a bunch of guys, relied on Anthony Richardson, bit them in the ass. What have the Falcons been doing? I'm just saying, it's very reminiscent. It is very, very, very reminiscent of last year. Everybody thought, hey, we had some guys that we had to re-sign, but there's also some, hey, we can make some noise, like Anthony Richardson's coming back, like we were only a game out. Hey, like, let's get some guys signed here. First couple days come, nothing's really happened. The season officially opens. Oh, he re-signed. Oh, okay. That I love him, but like, Shavar Swartz over there, like, what's up now? Like, but this is just exactly how I'm reading it. Like, everything just feels so deja vu for me because I just lived all of this last year, even to the point Falcons fans are on Twitter right now. I see the Bears are adding people. I see the Washington Commanders are adding people. I see the Broncos are adding people. Panthers added everybody and their mama last year. The Texans added everybody and their mama last year. The Titans added everybody and their mama last year. The Colts did nothing and just re-signed people. They had the season that they had. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen this year. I'm just saying that it's a lot of things that are like it's
seen this movie before.
I've seen this movie before, and next year, just like the Colts had to do this year, we can. I can be happy as I want to about the Colts signing Cam Bynum, Shavar Sword. The main reason that the Colts had to sign those two people is because they didn't nail it on getting Juju Brents, a second-round pick at corner. Obviously, Jalen Jones has been playing well, but he's still a seventh-round pick as a corner. Nick Cross, he just had his breakout season last year, but he was a third-round pick as a safety. Julian Blackmon couldn't stay healthy. The reason that we had to get that is because we did not hit on our draft picks. And the Falcons have not been hitting on their draft picks. So next year, when the Falcons are on day one, they have signed XYZ. I feel like I'm going to be right back in this position. Like, yeah, this is another deja vu.
That's what's going to happen. Next year, they're going to have as of right now, they're going to have close to 80 to 90 million in cap space next year, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to, because they didn't hit on all that, because you didn't hit on AK. Well, we'll see what happens this season with him, possibly, because you didn't hit on, you hit on your center, but you let him go that you had late in the season. So you got to address that, and you're probably not. It's probably will be next year as well. Is you didn't hit on Richie Grant, who left this offseason. You didn't hit on, we'll see.
And it's going to make it tough next season because just the Colts had to release. I mean, not release, but Will Fries. I mean, we just saw him sign for 5 years, $88 million. Not saying he was graded out as one of the best guards in the league earlier in the season before he got hurt. But that's a tough loss for an in-house free agent. If you hit on some of your picks, you don't lose him. Ryan Kelly, y'all know how I feel about Ryan Kelly, but Ryan Kelly is a Colt great. You might not have to let him go and rely on some rookies. Dayo Odiengbo, a lot of people don't really know about him, but he's an up-and-coming pass rusher that was kind of a rotational guy for us that has 16 sacks over the past 2 seasons. Just gets a big check. These are contributors that the Colts had to let go because they didn't do a good enough job in free agency and all the other stuff in previous years. Even to the point, if Anthony Richardson, once again, if he hits, maybe things even look different last year if he would have played a lot better. But still,
if he hits, you're not spending $14 million on a quarterback this offseason.
That too. And if he hits, so that's another thing that you can go point to. Even if Anthony Richardson is great here from today on, still the past 2 years is a mistake because if that $14 million is not spent on Daniel Jones, which he's still out there and it's still a possibility, Trey Hendrickson is right there for the taking. Right there for the taking. And now that $14 million could have went to Trey Hendrickson if the Colts or some other team, if some other team ends up getting Trey Hendrickson and we read, hey, the Colts were one of those teams in on it, guess what everybody's going to be looking at? Daniel Jones' $14 million contract. So,
yep.
What say you about the Falcons, Chris?
Oh, man.
Where do I start?
I know it's tough. That's all I can say. I know it's tough because but that's how all fans are. You see everybody signing everybody. You trying to figure out why the fuck we can't do it. As far as the Kirk Cousins,
yeah,
you already admitted your mistake. You benched him. Get rid of him. Stop fucking around. Just take the hit and call it a day. That's what we did once we realized, okay, Carson Wentz ain't gonna work. We already signed a big ass. Fuck it. We're gonna take the dead cap and we just gonna fix it eventually. You already made your decision. Like that kind of shit is, to me, is either. I think that comes from that stems from the owner giving you the power or letting you feel like you can make your move that you're supposed to make, because now you feel like, oh man, if I made this move, what am I gonna be here next year or whatnot? And it's like, man, the decision's made. Kirk Cousins ain't your starter no more. It
seems like they're trying to hold out to find that desperate team, right?
But nobody's desperate. Of course, nobody's doing that.
That's what I was about to say. Because Kirk Cousins came out, last week, said he met with the owner that he wants to be a starter somewhere. And I'm looking down the list of these teams. Where the fuck is he going to start? Who's going to be desperate enough to go trade for? And that's what they're hoping for. At this point, after everything that's shaken out with Sam Darnold going to the Seahawks, Smith going to the Raiders, and we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers.
Kenny Pickett going to the
Browns.
Kenny Pickett going to the Browns. Justin Fields going to the Jets. So it's like, after all this stuff is shaken out, you're looking at it like there ain't many desperate teams going to call on you, dude. Like at this point, you're just holding just to hold them. And I get people.
Go ahead.
And people are arguing, I personally don't think he's going to be on. There's no way you can start the season with him as your backup quarterback. I just don't think that's. I don't think it's going to happen. But you can tell they're holding on for this trade, and the way the market materialized, I don't see it happen. I had hope, honestly, for a trade before this started, but after seeing everything shake out how it did, I'm like, where is he going to go? Who's going to, especially the teams that don't have quarterbacks right now, besides Pittsburgh, which they'll figure that shit out, are the teams picking early in the draft that are going to figure it out in the draft and just roll with their guy. And why would Kirk Cousins waive his no trade clause to go to the same situation that he's leaving, where it's a young guy that's coming up right behind him that is going to take his spot? Let's be real. So it's like,
And to be honest with you, once again, the biggest reason that there is no guarantee. Michael Penix had a couple good moments in the to end the season. That's the same thing that Desmond Ridder had. To go back to my comparison that I've been making, Anthony Richardson's best game was the game against the Rams, right? The game before he got hurt. That was what everybody was going off of. We saw, he was getting tackled by freaking Aaron Donald, and he still threw a 40-yard. It could be easy to fall in love with the young guy. I promise you, if Kirk Cousins is on that team, Michael Penix starts off 0-2, there's going to be a large contingent of people that are like, put Kirk Cousins in.
Oh yeah,
it's going to happen. So you can't.
That's why I think you can't start the season with him. Like you got to
have that situation.
Yeah. So
and there's undoubtedly, it doesn't matter what Michael Penix does at all next season. There's undoubtedly going to be people. Anytime he struggles, that's going to be like, I saw Kirk Cousins put up 500 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Bucs. I know Michael Penix is not out here throwing 2 interceptions. Like there's undoubtedly people going to do that. Even though he's a rookie, or he's essentially a rookie next year. Yeah. Even though that's the case, people are still going to do that. So it just doesn't make sense. And I get it. Like I get it at this point. What I will say, because I mean we're casting doubt on them. To their credit, like I never felt that the Falcons were going to be big players, period, just because of how things went last year and the upcoming extensions that they could possibly have. Because now, if Darnell Mooney's a top 10 receiver, like some people think they are, not Cass, but some other people, you got to pay him like a top 10 receiver, as well as Drake London. If Kyle Pitts, like some people might want him still, I'm sure there's a lot of Falcons fans that are all for Kyle Pitts, but there's some people that are probably like, I still want Kyle Pitts to be something. He has to get a contract extension. We've seen rumors from a source that can be reliable, or maybe he's not reliable, that saying Tyler Algier is available for trade. Yeah. The only reason that is because he's got a contract extension coming up. Mm-hmm. So, to their benefit, if they felt like, hey, we're not going to really be big players, we really, there's some moves that we can make in terms of getting money. But at the end of the day, like,
yeah,
we really don't need this fucking money. We're going to play it as long as we can because Kirk's been a dickhead this whole offseason. So, like, we really don't care. Kirk, you're not going to be here regardless, but you're just going to rock. Like, I can 100% see them being like, we don't really, we'll cut him, but, like, we'll cut him in April, like, after the draft. Like, just
yeah.
cut. Like, at this point, we're not going to use that money towards anything else, like, of significance unless, like, somehow, Cincinnati's like, I'm going to give up Trey Henderson for a 4th-round pick and you guys can sign him for $25, $30K. And the Falcons are like, all right, we don't have that many picks, but shit, if that's all they want,
yeah,
take it. Then that's a little different. But, to their credit, we could throw that in there as well and not just say that they're
no,
just
because
out here digging in their ass.
it does make sense as well that, and again, like you have to hit on your draft picks, but you got to. I get you want to have like a bit of a youth movement, especially with the contracts coming up that you're gonna have to pay Drake London and if you want to keep Darnell Mooney next offseason. You're going to have to pay them both next offseason. You know that 100%. You're going to have to pay them. You can wait a little bit on Bijan, of course. Obviously, wait a little bit on Michael Penix. But you're also going to have to pay your guard, and you see, and Matthew Bergeron, that's coming up too in a couple of seasons, where you see where the guard money's going is getting crazy. It's getting like tackle money is. We'll see, man. But hopefully they have a plan. That's all I'm gonna say. See how it shakes out.
We will see how it shakes out, but it's a lot more free agency fun to come. There's, like I said, it's the first day. There's a lot of stuff to come because I don't think it would happen. It shouldn't happen just because of the redundancy. But who's to say that the Falcons wouldn't be suitors for Cooper Kupp? All of a sudden, some second, third wave folks start coming available, start getting cut. We still got to see what happens with Mark Andrews, which once again, not specifically for the Falcons, but just in general. Got to see what happens with Dallas Goedert. I'm sure you guys may have seen some of the stuff saying the Eagles are pretty much like very into the shedding salary portion of their offseason. So who knows who else that could possibly be in terms of, I mentioned Dallas, but, there's been people that have speculated A.J. Brown, obviously.
I seen that too, yeah.
The Patriots will throw that one. Hey.
They don't have nothing they can give us.
You sick as fuck. If I could get the third overall pick right now.
They're not giving the third.
You think they'll trade the third?
Cass, you know what I'm saying? They ain't giving that up. Anything they willing, they not. If they giving the third, then sure.
Vrabel,
that's fine. We'll take Travis. Fuck you talking about?
But exactly.
But they ain't giving up the third. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Travis.
Ooh, boy.
But hey, either way, that's why I'm still sad he's not. Well, we don't know for sure, but if Travis could have went to the Patriots, regardless, he could still go to the Patriots as receiver.
Yeah.
But I do think that that was another point that I wanted to make about the Eagles is next year we're talking about title defense. The eyes and the scrutiny is gonna be heavy, especially with some of the changes. Obviously, the eyes are gonna be on AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts from day one. From day one, if there's any type of slippage, if there's any type of anything, once again, when the schedule comes out and we see day one, Eagles got opening night, Ravens, second game, Cowboys, third game, 49ers or some bullshit like that, or third game, Commanders, something like that. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, hey, if the Eagles start off bad, what are we? I'm telling you. I'm predicting all the future timelines. This is exactly what's gonna happen.
They could do that. Guess what? We Super Bowl champ. What AJ said, Cat? I'm a fucking champion. We don't care about nothing.
Traded champion. That's what you're gonna be. Week 5, you're gonna get breaking news. AJ Brown has been traded.
Now I can honestly see that happening by the trade deadline. It's a little funky. I can see that.
I'm just saying it is going to. If there is any type of slippage, it's gonna happen.
At the same time,
he's gonna get traded. But the narratives.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I think they kind of, they went on a run this past season after the scrutiny early in the season. So we'll see. I mean, you never really know.
I just think that if we get to a third year of the same thing, it's gonna get very, very loud and bad. Like they tried to make it nasty this go around, but the Eagles kept winning, so it couldn't stick. But if this, I think with a third year, even with the winning, it would be very, very loud.
And it's even more incentive that you won the Super Bowl to be like, all right, we don't need to put up with this shit. So I mean, exactly. It's like let's reset the locker room a little bit. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. But before we sign off, you guys want to put anyone on a hot seat watch this week? You on the hot seat watch, nigga?
I mean,
Stephen A. Where's Max Kellerman? Because
hey,
man, they knocked that man off. So I ain't seen him in a minute.
Yeah,
some boxing matches that's going on. We ain't see him. Hey,
I put the Steelers on the hot seat watch, and of course, by the time, who knows, they could have a signing tonight after we finish recording, and this makes it look, what I'm saying, stupid. But at the same time, you got to be smart about how you proceed with your quarterback situation. You just made the move for DK Metcalf, and you gave him a contract that I don't think anybody else in the league would have gave him. Which, I mean, cool. You did what you had to do to get your receiver that you've been looking for a long time now. But a 5-year, 150 contract is that shit is wild. That shit is wild. So it's like, okay, you do that kind of move. You're not going to bring in a rookie quarterback. You're going to look for in the veteran. So of course, it's been all talk about Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what happens there and how it proceeds with the Steelers. I would say you got to be careful about how you do all this. You have TJ Watt. Of course, we talked about it last week. We talked about it in our chat. He's going to the final year of his contract. We just saw Myles Garrett get $40 mil and kind of reset the market a little bit. That's probably what TJ Watt is going to be looking for, just because of his impact overall, and how he to that team specifically. So we'll see how the Steelers kind of move forward, and they got a lot of stuff to figure out still, even besides the quarterback position. But of course, like you're just always going to be in that place where you're 10 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, where you don't have really a good pathway to really, unless you trade TJ Watt, you're not going to have a pathway to really reset this kind of to where you can get over the hump.
3 1s.
If you put TJ Watt on the market right now, you will get multiple first round picks that you can use to get your quarterback, which is supposed to be a stronger quarterback class next season and the year after.
Oh, that's what they say every year, though.
That's what they say. Whatever. They didn't say it this past year about this year. You see kind of how that came about. So, but I mean, like that's you. Unless you want to keep being mid, like you got to make decisions like that. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and I
trade George Pickens.
I will say that the contract for DK might look a little better.
Once all the
Jamar and T Higgins and all that stuff starts to happen, and then I do feel like the TJ Watt. I don't think that I think that the TJ Watt thing. I know we talked about it a lot, but I think they're waiting on. I think both the Bengals and the Steelers are kind of competing with each other right now because I don't think that it will be the Myles Garrett contract. I think it'll be the Trey Hendrickson contract or whoever signs first, whether they, Trey gets traded or not.
That's fair.
I think that's what that is like the level or the holdup. So I don't know if it'll get to Myles Garrett, but
I mean, it might not.
It might.
That's what happened with the Deshaun Watson contract. People were like, "What the fuck?" I mean, like, but again, people were saying, "Oh, this is going to reset the quarterback market," blah blah blah, and it really didn't. Patrick Mahomes helped that for sure, but it didn't. Because Patrick Mahomes signed that huge contract that was way less than that. So you're like, if Patrick Mahomes is getting $45 million a year, and we're not going to pay all this guaranteed money to a quarterback. So it didn't really have the effect that people thought it would with Deshaun Watson and the Browns. It's possibly the same thing could happen with Myles Garrett. They might just be like, it's just the Browns being the Browns again. Like fuck it, we're not doing that. So we'll see.
We'll see. What about you, Chris?
I will put the Giants on the hot seat. I like their defense. I like the move they made, but the hot seat is specifically for the quarterback position. You have opportunity to get your quarterback of the future or put a stop. Because me personally, I don't believe that you can go draft a quarterback first round and go goddamn sign Aaron Rodgers. I just don't believe in that. Y'all might think differently. I just don't think that is conducive to moving forward because Aaron Rodgers isn't your future. That's just a now thing. So you have to make a decision on how you believe your roster is constructed. Should you go ahead and get Aaron Rodgers now and go try to make a run for wherever the fuck you think you can make a run for, or go get your quarterback of the future and build this team right? Like I said, defense they made some moves on defense that I like very much, but that offense, man, I mean that quarterback position is an important position. You see what you just did. You just gave it back to Daniel Jones, and now he done been on 2 teams in a year. You on the hot seat. You gotta figure some things out. And that's what I got.
They'll be on the hot seat the whole season.
Yeah,
and if they get Russ,
I don't really mind the Aaron Rodgers, kind of being the mentor role, because in my viewpoint, once again, I did watch the Aaron Rodgers documentary, so I feel a lot differently about Aaron Rodgers opposed to watching that, just in terms of like how he goes about things, like him being a hard worker, like a lot of and it's his fault, but like the Achilles thing where he was saying that he was going to get back on the field in a certain amount of time. Like he portrayed it, and that obviously was like following the COVID comments that he made. But it was portrayed, and he kind of portrayed it himself, like publicly, like as if he was kind of like bucking the science narrative. But in reality, it was really more just a challenge for himself. And I like that. That's some things like stuff like that. If you would just really just say that, I think people would appreciate him so much more. But also, and I also think like before COVID, really, Aaron Rodgers wasn't viewed as some just like aloof, like some people thought he was a little bit of an asshole, but like he wasn't just demonized to the point of like where people just feel like he can't be helpful or is always a cancer in the locker room. So I just think sticking with the Giants here. I was about to get into Steelers convo and say with a strong locker room. I don't know how strong the locker room is here, but I can see, if you get drafted by Cam Ward, I can see Cam Ward looking at this nigga like if he tripping, like, yeah, I hear what you saying, but like, you ain't about to mess up my psyche type deal. You know what I'm saying? But Cam Ward, Shador, even Shador, because Shador's got his dad. He ain't looking up to Aaron Rodgers. But my hot seat, oh man, I don't even know who to put on the hot seat this time. This was a little bit of a tough one. But I had to bring back the Kansas City Chiefs. I had to bring back the Kansas City Chiefs because it's looking like, the Joe Tooney thing, I get it. He's a little bit up there in age and you want to say, hey, you're making a move early, 1 year early, not 1 year too late. But it does seem like, and they did open up some money today, so maybe there's some other moves that they have coming, which me thinking about it out loud, I think it has more to do with them signing Trey Smith more than it is them making additional moves. But the team is not like super talented. Like overall roster is not like you look at the roster and take away the quarterback. You just look at the roster. You're like, hey, this is like.
And they got Bolton, nigga. My bad. Go ahead.
I mean, Bolton is solid, but like even then, even people that are Chiefs fans, not like the people that cover the Chiefs are even like, this is a little bit too much. But I get it. He's the voice of the defense. Receivers were banking on Xavier Worthy. It seemed like things were going to be a lot more doom and gloom than it ended up being. And we're hoping that it stays that way on the Xavier Worthy front, but. You're banking on Xavier Worthy staying healthy. You're banking on Hollywood Brown staying healthy, who's been nicked really over the past couple seasons and really his whole career. And, now Rashee Rice, who is, coming off of injury as well as potentially has a suspension coming. The receiver room, the weapons don't necessarily look great, especially now that, the shine has kind of come off of Isaiah Pacheco, where people thought that he could probably rise in the ranks, and people are now like, Kareem Hunt was out here eating while you were just kind of, not saying he's bad or anything like that. So, Chiefs, everything looks all good when you're winning. When you get 40 on your head, that shine starts to come away. Yeah. And, you're not the defending Super Bowl champion anymore. And you were a team that was in the Super Bowl, but, looking at the past Super Bowl losers last year,
49ers fell off.
49ers
Eagles
fell apart the next year.
Eagles
fell apart the next year. So like,
Bengals ain't been back.
Bengals ain't been back. Fell apart the next year. Or fell apart. Franchise fell apart. So and catastrophic losses matter. And I think that was given the situation, regardless, given the situation, but obviously it was a Super Bowl, given the fact that you were going for your three-peat, being the greatest team ever, getting blown out in that fashion, Travis Kelce came back. That man wanted to retire. I'm still sticking to that to this day. That man wanted to retire. You're forcing him to come back. We'll see next year. If he comes back, I'm super wrong. But, basically forcing him to come back out of retirement. So catastrophic losses matter, and they hurt teams big time. The Chiefs or the 49ers taking a second Super Bowl loss could have ramifications for the rest of the rest of this iteration of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, because they have jettisoned a lot of talent. And we still have to see what they're going to do with Trent Williams. We still have to see what they're going to do with Christian McCaffrey. There's been a lot of rumors about a
Brandon Ayuk
trade. So, the one that I always go back and look to, and sorry to bring up this, the Falcons. That was a catastrophic loss in the Super Bowl, and they have not gotten back since. The Indianapolis Colts, my own team, it wasn't necessarily a loss, losing your quarterback, and they still have not, catastrophic losses matter, and they ruin franchises. So, not saying that the Kansas City Chiefs will be ruined, but you got to start, it's got to roll back. It's got to start picking back up on actual things that aren't, now that the shine has gone off. So, I got the Kansas City Chiefs on the hot seat. We will see what it looks like, and with that, well, Ravens, Bills, all y'all on the hot seat too still.
Yep.
Y'all are not being removed. Justin Tucker, you're on the hot seat too, man.
Hey.
Freak out, boy.
All right.
Yeah. We ain't touched too much on that, but hey.
We're not going to either.
But yeah, man, hey. Kansas City better get right. City better get right. But with that being said, man, that gives us a wrap for another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast. I'm sure there are going to be so much more stuff to talk about next week. Hopefully we get some more trades, free agent signings over the next couple days, and get some more NFL free agency frenzy. So we will catch y'all next week and see you then.
Sure.